Jim Province with the Toledo Blade. This is a question for the governor. Tom Noe is one of those, Tom Noe from the Coingate scandal is one of the 26 that you are recommending for potential release depending on what the parole board does. You already have a petition on your desk where the parole board has recommended that he not be released. Can you tell me how this new process would be different from that process, and how much of a role the coronavirus itself has to play in that final decision?
Sure. So we started by looking, and I went through the process, I won't go through it again, but we started looking at people 60 years of age who had a medical problem. And the whole idea was, look, these are the most vulnerable if they get the coronavirus. These are the people most likely to have a very serious medical situation or to die. So we started screening them out. And then we, superimposed some qualification on that. We're not going to let rapists out, murderers out, and we went through a list that I read of people. So we went through all that process, and we came up with 26 names. Frankly, I would have thought it would have been more, but that's what we ended up with, is 26 people who qualified. Each one of those has to have has to go through a process. Noe had already gone through the process, as you know. This was before I became governor. The parole board had met, recommended, did not have a favorable recommendation to Governor Kasich. Nothing's really happened on that. I've not taken any action on that. So it seemed to me that what we should do is treat all these 26 the same, and that is send them all to the parole board and ask the parole board to look at them, make a recommendation, come back. If they do have a recommendation for release, the parole board, we're asking the parole board will come back with conditions. And so those of the 26 that come back to me with a favorable recommendation, we will look at it. I mean, we'll look at all of them, but obviously the ones that come back with a favorable recommendation, we're going to look at, see if the conditions are, if we want to add any additional conditions, and then take an action. So Noe's different only in the sense that he'd already gone through that process, but he has not gone through that process recently. And so it just seemed to me fair to everybody to treat everybody the same in that group. Send them off to the parole board, see what the parole board does, and see where we go in the process from there.
And how much of a role does the coronavirus situation play in that decision? Does it become the predominant factor?
Well, I don't think we would, we wouldn't have done this without the coronavirus, frankly. I mean, I don't think that, I wouldn't have gone like this probably. I mean, it's a logical thing. It's not illogical without the coronavirus. You could have looked at the situation in prison and you could have decided, well, this is a way to decide who comes out. But we would not have done that, I don't think, without the coronavirus. So the process was, for all three groups, the group we had last week and the two groups today, those were really set in place because of the coronavirus. And we started looking at the prison and thinking, okay, well, who should come out? And how do you set that criteria? And we got different statutes and things that we would have to qualify for. And so we looked at the different tools that are available, and this is what we came up with. As I said, we came up probably with fewer people than we would have thought, but again, that's what we ended up with based on the screens that we put on and the screening process that we went through.